This is my computer science project. It is called ELARA. As you can see by the current heads-up display, when you boot up the game you get shown a title screen which says ELARA, and then you have 4 different buttons that you can press. You have new game, load game, settings and exit game, all with their respective things. When you press load game, you can see there are 3 different slots. They're empty in this case because we haven't played yet. Under settings, at the moment we just have the volume settings, which you can change to whatever you like using the scroll bar, and then when you press back it does save it and you can reopen it and double check. Press exit game will just take you back to your home screen or whatever button, whatever screen you have, and then when you press new game it brings you into the game. Now when you immediately start the game you're greeted with a easy to understand heads up display. In the top left hand corner of your screen you have 3 different status bars. You have a health bar, hunger bar and a hydration bar, all of which go down accordingly. If you get attacked your health will go down, but over time your food and hunger go down naturally, but different actions such as mining or chopping or attacking will decrease your hunger too. As well as that you have a status bar. Next to the status bar you have the day time system, so it will show you the day and the current time of the game, and as the time goes on so will the skybox in the back. So the skybox in the back will change depending on the time, so it will go day to night to sunrise to sunset. It will change depending, as will the shadows, as you can see. So across the video you will see that. So the cycle repeats every about 5 minutes. As well as that, at the bottom of the screen you can see the hotbar or / quick slots, which is basically when you equip an item, such as a pickaxe or an axe, it will go into one of those slots, and then depending on which slot you press, we'll look at the item. Pressing I will open up your inventory, where you can see a selection of item slots and a trash can that you can drag and drop items into, which will give a particular UI prompt to either confirm or deny getting rid of that item. As well as that, underneath the inventory screen itself, when you hover over an item, a UI will pop up that will basically explain what that item is, what it's called. It's like a simple use for it pretty much. Pressing C will open up the crafting system, which as you can see has 4 different options. Opening up each individual one will show you the items that you can craft. It has a picture, the name of the item, and then its required resources. As well as that, it also shows how many of those resources you have in your inventory, and it does update every time you pick up an item or every time you open up the inventory system. So pressing M will open up a menu that allows you to save game into 3 different games that save slots. The settings will open up the settings again, and the quit will take you back to the main menu. So as you can see there are several trees and items that you can pick up off the floor, such as wood and stones. These are procedurally generated at the beginning of every new game, so when you press new game, it procedurally generate them across the map. Same with resources and enemies throughout certain areas of the game. However, if you press the load game, obviously it won't do that because you're loading a current game, so it will reload those items and those trees in their positions on rotations. With each of the trees, with the procedural generation, for each item it does a check to make sure there isn't an item inside or next to it where it's trying to spawn, and if there is, it will try and spawn somewhere else. These resources have been placed here just for the ease of the video, as opposed to exploring the entire map trying to find them. However, they are procedurally generated through the map. As you can see, when you pick up an item, when you hover over an item, it will display an interaction text to tell you what that item is. And by clicking on it, you can pick up the item, and it sends an alert to your screen telling you what item it picked up in a small little picture of it. As you can see, when you hover over the item, as I explained before, it shows you a simple description, title, and what it's used for. And here you can see the implementation of the confirming whether you want to get rid of the item or not. In this case we do. As you can see, it clears. As you can see, we have 7 stones and 4 pieces of wood. So as you can see, underneath the axe and pickaxe, where it says the amount of resources that we have, it has updated with how many we have in the inventory. And as you craft it, as you can see, it displays yet again how many we have as we craft them. By right clicking on an equivalent object, it sends it to our quick slot or hotbar, which we can then equip to then chop down or mine resources. Here I'm just showing the saving system, so if we go to a random place in the game, as you can see there are 3 different save slots that have 3 different names, and if you click on one that's already got a save in, it shows you an override menu where you can either confirm or deny. As you can see here, we are saving, and then we are loading back up that original save, and after a few seconds it takes you back to the same place, has the exact same status bar, health, hydration and hunger, with the exact same items, and we're in the exact same place. As you can see, no new objects have been procedure generated, just the same ones have been brought back. As you can see here, we can use the axe to chop down the trees, and a status health bar pops up on the tree that shows us how far that tree has come. After you've mined the tree, you can see the game object gets destroyed, and a new game object has been instantiated based on what that object was. So in this case it was a birch tree, so it's instantiated a stump and then 2 additional logs on top, which you can then pick up. Each tree has its own health bar that only gets displayed when you're looking at that particular tree. So as you can see here, this tree has got some damage missing, whereas that previous one had a full health. Here we are showing the hunting system, so if you hit the rabbit with the axe, you can see it dies, and then you get a selection of items from its loot pool. So every enemy and every creature has its own loot pool, where randomly there is a random selection of items from that loot pool depending on its rarities and percentages. As you can see, when you eat this raw meat, your health will decrease as it is raw, but however your hunger will increase. If we go over to this skeleton enemy, when we get within a certain point, the AI is triggered and it is no longer idle, and it changes state to the chase state. When you kill it, it drops a gravestone which you can then loot, which, same as the rabbit, has a lootable pool where it will then randomly select an item from that looting pool. In this case we got a singular bone. Here we're going over to each of the resources just to show that they all, when they're mined, drop an individual item based on what they were, so they will instantiate here. Here you can see that our inventory is full, and so when we go to pick up an item it doesn't allow us to, so it stays in the game. However, we can just get rid of an item from our inventory that we don't want to pick up that other item. Using the logs that we got earlier from chopping the tree, we can make a selection of planks. Using these planks, we're going to craft some foundations and some walls, so I can demonstrate the modular building system. We're also going to use one of the planks in order to craft a selection of wood. Here we have demonstrated the construction mode, so this is the free cams or the free lock. This basically allows you to place the foundation anywhere within a given area of the world. So as you can see, it's red in areas where it cannot be placed and green in areas where it can. Here you can see the snap grid essentially. So there is a 3x3 area around the center of the wood, around the center of the foundation, that allows you to snap a foundation into that area. So instead of having to free lock and try and get them in order to place in the same place, you can snap grid around them to make placing of foundations and walls easier. You can also see the construction mode UI, HUD even, pop up there that says you're in construction mode. It'll tell you how to place the item and how to cancel placing the item. Here you have, this is just showing the same thing but with the wooden walls, that you can place the wooden walls, but they can only be placed in a snap grid, they can't be placed free lock. And here we're just going back to gather more resources in order to craft another item. As you may be able to see in the top left hand of our corner of our screen, we can see that our hunger HUD has gone into negative, which basically means that we are starving. Unlike most games where when you reach 0 it just stops going down and you just start taking damage instantly, I wanted to create a slight bit more of a realistic approach. So in this case, when your hunger goes below 0, you don't necessarily start taking damage straight away, but there is a long-term hunger effect. As you can see here, we have built and crafted and placed the forge. By toggling on the forge, we can see that a particle effect takes place, just to indicate that the forge is toggled on. The forge system works by having, it takes an ore and a fuel input and then outputs a product depending on the input of ore. So your fuel is decided based on which wooden item you put in, so planks, logs and wood are all able to be placed in. As you can see, we tried to turn it on, but there is no fuel, so you have to place in a log. Now, that piece of wood is equivalent to 2 items being smelted. So as you can see, we placed in an iron and it's smelted. Here we're showing that you cannot place an invalid item, so placing the bone will do nothing, and there, placing the gold will. If we then try to smelt another item, it won't allow us to, and it will display no fuel, because we've run out of fuel because we've used the 2 count. So placing another one in will allow us to craft another item.